Sparks with Saima, the raw truth meets transformation. And today's guest is our wonderful Richard Tierne, who is on a mission to change how we view mental health. He teaches that emotions and instincts, especially in children, are not disorders to be suppressed, but signals to be understood and honored. Now, through his work, challenges the band-aid approach of medication and introduces a deeper path, healing the root cause, returning to the younger self, and mending the hole in the soul. So, this conversation is about reclaiming wholeness for ourselves and for the generations to come. So, Richard, welcome to the show.
Simon, thank you very much for having me. Really lovely being here. And I love your introduction. It really was a wonderful expression. I don't think I could put it better myself in my own words. So thank you very much for that.
You're warmly welcome, Richard. You're warmly welcome all the time. So, Richard, like you say, children's emotions are not disorders but instincts. So, like, I wonder that how does reframing them this way change the way we nurture young people?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, as I think I shared with you last time, 290 million children in the world today have been diagnosed with mental disorders, and they've been diagnosed from the age of 10 to 19. I got to listen to Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson the last few weeks, and they were talking about we shouldn't be interfering in the lives of children until they at least reach the age of 25. When a child is in adolescence, in like an age of 2, 3, 4, living at home with the parents, they're learning certain amount of feelings around being around parents and grandparents and at safety. And then they go to play school, and they're not given any kind of duties, but except just playing games in play school and interacting with children and a teacher. And for those 3 or 4 years, they're learning new feelings about being around people, not their own family, and dealing with that. And then when it gets to the age of 9 on to 13, they're dealing with learning having to do homework and getting work done and having responsibilities and how that affects their feelings and emotions. And then from about 13 to 19, their puberty is affected, and they're attracted to boys, attracted to girls. They go out and date, they ask somebody out and they say no, they suffer rejection. But they experience all this in those years of puberty. And then when they finally leave school, they go to college, they get a job, they leave home, and they have to experience that whole event of standing on their own 2 feet and standing up for themselves and having healthy boundaries around other people. And that's another learning curve. So when they hit 25, then you can discuss with them whether they think they have a mental disorder or they want to do something about their sex or something. But targeting children at the age of 10 is destroying their whole lives because they don't get to experience their feelings and emotions in a healthy way from 10 to 25. So it's a terrible crime that's been committed against the human race when they affect children that young.
That's really a powerful perspective, Richard, and you have broke it down so clearly, and I love how you frame that. It really, shifts the way we think about supporting kids. That's such an insightful way to actually look at it.
Thank you very much. So that leads us to, we're either creating a healthy foundation about our feelings or an unhealthy foundation about our feelings. So if we've been told and learned that anxiety and depression are mental disorders, not healthy responses, what happens is when you have any of your feelings, anxiety, fear, depression, grief, anger, sadness, loneliness, that's a call to action. It's saying to you, something's not right in your world. You need to fight, flight, freeze, or accept. And you take one of those 4 actions. But if we stay in the feeling and we medicate the feeling, we are doing the worst thing possible. God gave us these feelings, and that we have thousands of feelings, that when these feelings are triggered, we're meant to take one of 4 actions. We're meant to either fight, flight, freeze, or accept that God's in charge and everything will be okay. And if we don't take an action, we are self-sabotaging our lives. So if children are being conditioned not to trust their feelings, not to take responses to danger, their ability to cope when they get older is like taken from them completely. And then when they come into adults and they suffer a trauma, they just don't know how to deal with the trauma because their ability to trust their feelings and to take action taken from them, they're stuck in this no man's land, stuck between fight and flight, and they're absolutely stymied. And so they're down that rabbit hole of more medications, more therapies. If we could just teach them, it's okay to be anxious. If you're anxious, that's your best superpower. If your anxiety is saying to you, don't stay on this podcast, it's not safe here, turn off the computer, go into the spare room, go downstairs and go out and go for a walk, leave the room. And if you feel better, then come back in 10 minutes time and you might come back to the podcast, you might change the channel. But you trust your instincts, and your instincts are telling you to leave, you'll leave the room. If your instincts are telling you to run away, you run away. If your instincts are telling you to hide in the closet, you hide in the closet. If your instincts are telling you to complain to somebody, so you write an email to Sana and say, I never want to listen to Richard again. He was a terrible guest. Don't have him on the show again. Do that. If you want to report me to somebody else, the police or somebody, you do that. You tell your parents, Don't be afraid to take an action and report that person, place, or thing. Just say no. Ask someone to hold your hand or to stay with you so the danger passes. All these things are part of you taking care of yourself. It's perfectly okay. The other one is, as children, the safest coping skill we have is to freeze, to disassociate. So young children in a home, if parents are arguing and fighting, a young child isn't allowed to leave the house in case they can't find their way back or they step out in front of a car and get knocked down. So they can't leave the house. So they can't run away and they can't fight. So the best thing they can do is to disassociate. They're sitting there in the room while all the trouble's going on, but in their mind, they go to a place of fantasy. They may be swimming with dolphins. They may be climbing trees with squirrels. They may be in a starship, Star Wars, sailing through the galaxies. They go someplace in their mind where they're safe, where they're away from all the trouble. They switch off to the center. Their eyes are open. They're sitting there like they're present, but they're mentally and emotionally, they've left the building. And they go off in maybe go off to heaven or something. They go off to some distant land and have great fun out there for 10, 15 minutes. And when they feel safe, they'll be drawn back to their body. All the fighting's died down. They'll feel the calm. They'll come back to their body. They wake up. They'll just shake themselves off and they'll be fine. So dissociation is not a mental disorder. It's the greatest coping skill a child has. But mental health professionals are going to children as young as 10 and telling them, no, dissociation is a mental disorder. We're robbing them of the ability to take care of themselves. So that's the program we spoke about last time we met about this. We have to teach children to always work at this. So as I said to you before, we work at home with the parents. We take 6 feelings: anxiety and depression, anger and fear, grief and loneliness. And then we look at the 4 responses: fight, flight, freeze, and acceptance. And we get the parents and the children to act out one of the responses to, say, anxiety. They say, okay, Dad, when you're anxious, what do you want to do? And he says, I want to hide up in the bedroom under the bed. And Mommy says, okay, let's all go upstairs and hide under the bed. And everyone goes up and hides under the bed. And they all kind of giggling, hiding under the bed with Mommy and Daddy. Come down after us. How did that feel? They all say, that felt great. And they've given them a tool in their army that when they're anxious, they can hide under the bed. Next time, let's hide in the spare bedroom altogether. All hide in the spare bedroom. That's another tool in the army. Let's hide out in the back garden behind the bush at the end of the garden. Hide out in the back garden behind the bush for 10 minutes. Come in. What was that like? That was great. I like that space more than the bedroom. Okay, now you have a new space. We give them all of these new ways of expressing flight, and then fight, and then freeze, and then acceptance. And if we can build up their armory for how to respond, they won't fear their emotions anymore, and they'll understand their emotions are superpowers.
That's really powerful, Richard. It suggests the very feelings we fear might be the ones guiding children to safety and strength, and that makes a lot of sense. Now, I am really like, can you share an example of a child who transformed once the emotions were honored instead of suppressed?
You're going to share with me, or you want me to share with you?
I want to hear from you.
Okay, great. But before I do that, I want to share one thing that we can all identify with. In our history books, we hear about the Vikings when they would attack. They come to attack a village. The village was split into 4 groups. Okay, so the first group would decide they're going to fight. They take up arms to defend the village. The second group would go off and hide in the hills. They take the children and go off and hide in the hills and the caves and get away. They'd flight. The third group, if they're too old or they're sickly or whatever, they would play dead. They would find someplace and lay low and be very, very quiet, and hopefully the Vikings wouldn't see them. The fourth group would go into the church or the monastery and they'd pray for deliverance. Each person had a specific role to do. And once they acted out that role, it meant they were protecting the safety and preservation of the tribe. So if all the defenders got killed, people could come back from the mountains, and the people who are hiding on the ground could get up, and the church come out and start the village again. Everyone has a specific role. And because today there's no Vikings, there's no Siberian tigers or anything, that danger isn't out there. It's all in our mind because of TVs and movies. We have to still understand that, we all have a different role. So for me, for you, was my response as a child, obviously you're 27, I have to tell you, was to freeze. I would disassociate. I would shut down. So there was a time I was coming out of terrible psychosis because as a child I'd suffered a trauma event, and then I became addicted to gambling and alcohol, and I was in a bad mental health space for a long time, really broken and disheveled and a hole in my soul and all that kind of stuff. And my family were really concerned about it. Came over to my home on my day off to have a talk to me, to do an intervention. And they're standing at the window, knocking the window, saying, "Richard, open the door, we want to come in." And they were no more than 4 feet away from me, like they're at the window looking in at me, and I see them. And I pull the couch out from the wall. I'm 6'6", same man. At this stage, I'm 27 years of age. I'm a big man. I get down on my hands and knees. I crawl in behind the couch, between the couch and the wall. I put my hands over my head, pull my head in between my legs. I'm rocking back and forward, humming to myself, pretending my family isn't there, switching off, disassociating. My family are knocking the window. We can see you, Richard. Richard, please get up and leave us in. We want to help you. I'm there with my hands over my head, rocking back and forth behind the couch, trying to shut them out. After about 10 minutes, my sister says, we better not go in. If we go in, maybe we'll set him off. He could do something crazy. Let's leave him and go home. And they went home in tears. They couldn't help me. And 10 minutes later, when they're gone, I get up off the floor, go back, sit on the couch and start chain smoking again, as though nothing happened. And now, to anyone looking from the outside, that's utterly insane. But for me, that kept me safe. It kept me sane in my mind. Climbing behind the couch and getting down on my hands and knees and humming and switching out the world helped me feel safe and sane. It doesn't matter that my therapist wouldn't understand or you wouldn't understand. It kept me safe, and that's all that matters. I use the best I have to keep me safe in any time. As long as I don't harm myself or another person, it's the best thing I can do. So if the best thing for me is to disassociate or withdraw or become introverted or isolate or hide in a wardrobe or hide under the bed or run away or run up for the hills or take a geographical and move countries, it's okay as long as I'm not harming somebody. If it's your response, Simon, is to fight it and to stand up and report somebody and ask for help, that's what God gave you, that belief that you're a fighter. Me, I was a freezer. Someone else might be a flighter. Someone else might be accepting. We have to trust our feelings, trust our feelings, and tell us that our feelings are superpowers. So if I feel depressed, it's not that I have depression. My God is telling me there's something in your life that isn't okay and it's making you feel down. What is it? And you kind of go, it's my job. My job is very depressing. Okay, well then you're either going to leave today or you're going to look for jobs in between so you can leave in 6 months' time. So you have a plan in place that, okay, I'm going to leave this job in 3 months, but for next 2 months, I'm going to be searching for a new job. So when I do leave here, I have a new job to go into. Or I'm going to say, I'm going to leave today because I don't leave today. I'm going to do something crazy. So your depression is a call for you to take action. Your anxiety is a call to run away, and so on. Your fear is a call to ask for help. Your grief is a call to ask for help. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have a big cry. Even for a grown man, 6'6" grown man like myself, it's okay for me to cry like a baby. If that helps me to release the sadness and the fear from my body by crying it out of my body, it's okay to do that. No one gets to call me a big girl because I'm crying or I'm a big baby. They can go jump in the liffey. If I need to cry, I allow myself to cry today. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I am doing right by me. So I dissociated when I was younger. And now if I need to cry, I'll cry. I have no problem going to a place where I can imagine I'm with my mammy. My mammy's dead 40 years. But I see myself sitting on my mammy's knee and she's holding me and I cry my eyes into her lap. And it feels good. And then I come back into the room, I get on my life. And I'm married with 2 kids and you think I shouldn't be crying. But if I need to cry, I cry. If I want to laugh, I laugh. If I want to smile, I smile. If I want to sing, I sing. If I want to be anxious, I allow myself to be anxious. And I say, what's that telling me? So my anxiety is my best superpower. I can tell if there's something wrong with somebody. What happened to me was in my job with my siblings, we had a business in Ireland and we would interview people for different jobs, whatever. And we'd have the interviews. My brothers would do all the decision making about hiring people and they kept making wrong choices. So one day my father said, let's get Richard involved in this. So I went into a meeting. And my anxiety would tell me if someone was lying or not. I could tell straight away if there's something wrong, if there's something off about somebody. So the first time it happened, my brothers were interviewing this guy and they were very impressed with him. And I said, something off about this guy. I wouldn't recommend it. But they didn't listen to me and they hired him. Biggest mistake they ever made. So after that, we'd have interviews and I would interview each person separately. And if I felt something about us, I'd say no, and they wouldn't hire him. My anxiety became my superpower. And even to this day, if I'm out about and I see someone or something triggers me that I don't feel safe, I leave. I don't make any excuse. I don't ask for permission. I just get up and leave. With my family, I say, we're leaving now. What's wrong? We're leaving now. And my wife understands. We get up and we leave. And then the car, I say to her, I didn't feel comfortable around that person. So you trust your feelings, your God-given instincts for you. And your instincts might be to run away. My instincts might be to freeze. Somebody else's instinct might be to fight. Somebody else might have the great instincts of trusting God always and just letting it happen. We trust our instincts. Our feelings tells us to take one of those instincts.
That's an incredible example, Richard. Like hearing how honoring a child's emotions and create such a transformation really underscores not how impactful this approach can be, not just for the child, but I feel for everyone around them. And it's a beautiful reminder of why this conversations matter so much.
Well, the thing is, this, I love your title, Soul Sparks. We have to heal the hole in our soul. We have to light that spark and let it blossom into a huge harvest. What we do and what we think, that's just the material. That's just how it manifests in our life. But our drive comes from our spirit. And if we have a strong spirit, we can achieve anything. We can move mountains. But if we have a dampened, broken spirit, we're no good to anybody. We've no self-confidence or self-worth. So we have to feed the soul. And the Bible says everything about the soul is hope, love, compassion, tolerance, empathy, kindness, forgiveness, forgetfulness, compassion, humility, all the good things. They're the things we need to feed ourselves with. Gratitude. Be grateful for everything. And no matter how bad your day is, I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that Sana has this podcast, got to listen to Richard, and I got hope. I haven't had hope for 20 years. This Irish guy, bit crazy, but he shared something with me, just blew my mind. When he mentioned about him being behind a couch, I could identify with him, and I felt I'm not alone, and I got great hope from him. And I thank Sana for that, and so on. So understand, we want to feed our soul. We spend so much time feeding our minds with TV and books and videos and audios, and our bodies sleeping and our bodies food, but we don't feed our soul. So we need to learn to start a practice whereby we feed our soul with all the good stuff, all the hope and gratitude and love and joy. And you say things like, God's name is I am. I never knew this. I thought God's name was God. But in the Bible, in Exodus, he says to Moses, tell them that I am sent you. So he's telling us straight away that God's name is not God. That's only a label. Like they call me Mr. Richard. My name isn't Mr. Richard. I'm not Mr. I'm Richard. I'm the spirit. So his name isn't God. It's I am. And every time you use his name in anything, don't use it in vain. So don't attach anything negative to his name. So don't say, I am depressed, or I am sad, or I am lonely, and I am, and I have no friends is the same as I am. I have no friends is saying I am has no friends, because they're your prayers and God answers them tenfold. And if you're saying I have no friends, God will make sure you have 10 expressions of having no friends. So you have to learn to say, I am happy, joyous, and free. I am love. I am wealth. I am abundance. I am opulent. I am unlimited prosperity. I am a great success. I'm an expert podcast guest speaker. That's what I say every time before I come out on my podcast. I am an expert podcast guest speaker. I'm an expert social media presence. I'm a trauma recovery coach. You keep reaffirming everything that's good about you, even as though you're not there yet. You imagine you are. So I say, I'm a multimillionaire. I have reached 290 million children. I've reached 1 billion individuals with my work. My work is a great success, but he's embracing my work. It's fantastic. I keep saying these positive things, and God will say, Richard believes it's happened. Okay, if he believes it happened, we'll make it happen. And that's how this is. We have to start thinking a different way. We have to change our attitude, our outlook, and our perspective.
Now, like the way you described, Richard, makes the idea of honoring emotions feel so practical and hopeful. Now, I really wonder that like your method involves returning the baggage to the younger self. I'm really eager to know this. How does that process, help someone heal from the past?
Wow, but we've erred here slightly because we're now crossing over from one therapy practice into a second. So my intention was to just to target one area, which was the children's health, and then target the second was the trauma one. But to explain to you how it works, you have to understand, if you took out a pen and paper, Seema, and write at the top of the page your name, and how old are you today, Seema?
Sure.
How old are you?
Like
How old are you? Right now, how old are you?
I would like to ask from the children's mental health.
Seema, just one moment. How old are you? How old are you?
I am 23.
Okay, so if you look at a page, and on top of the page you wrote down 23-year-old Seema, and then put everything on that page about who you are today. So your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, your best friends, your job, your podcast, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations. Only about you, about today, nothing about the past or the future. Just put on the page everything that sums up who Seema is. Okay, and then you take a separate page, and you think back to that younger version of you who suffered a trauma, maybe 10-year-old Seema. Maybe the pet name could be 10-year-old Say, okay? And you write down 10-year-old Say, and then when she was alive, who was in her life? Was she living at home or where you're living now? Were her parents alive, and so on? And go on to what she was doing. She would have been in school and you're working. She's not running a podcast. And then who her friends were back then, and so on. And then you have those 2 pages, and you can see that you're not the same person. You're a 23-year-old young woman, and that's a 12-year-old child. You're called Seema today. That girl had a pet name called Say, or whatever way you do it. You see, you're 2 different people. So if you're 2 different people, what happened to that 10-year-old child didn't happen to this 23-year-old woman today. So you can't say, I was abused in the past, because you only exist in these 24 hours. You say, 10-year-old Say was abused. So she's abused it. You've been carrying the memory of what happened to her, and you've been carrying sympathy pains for her. But that's her baggage, and she can't cross over into the light until she has her baggage. So you have to give the baggage, the details of that event back to her. You have to give the need for vengeance and justice back to her. You have to give all the hurts and pains back to her. And once you give it to her and she leaves this plane of existence, you feel it a release in your body and you're free to move on with your life.
That's a beautiful way to explain that, Richard. It's actually feels so inspiring, to hear these words from you, this perspective from you, and I'm sure that that's gonna be beneficial for all our listeners out there for sure.
You're wonderful. I'd love to get into this, but maybe on the next episode, I just focus solely on this healing the whole in the soul, because it's a whole chapter. I've just broken it into one sentence where the healing event takes 3 hours, and the program trying to explain it would take about 30 minutes. So if we can have another podcast, this one's been solely about my book, How to Live Stress and Anxiety Free 24 Hours a Day, which is for teaching children how to treat their feelings and emotions as instincts, how to know which the 4 responses are and how to use them, how to let God into your life and know how to talk to God. There's a specific way to talk to God to get him to do what you need him to do, to give you a miracle. And it's very, very simple. Once
Mhm.
you have it, it's like a formula. Once you have the formula, how to talk to God, you're set. And then you learn how to give him your sleep at night, so you get 8 hours of peaceful sleep, and he takes the nightmares away from you. This kind of thing. So it's a very simple book. It's written for children. It's called How to Live Stress and Anxiety Free 24 Hours a Day. It's available in Amazon and other book platforms, in print and digital. And it's a very simple book to do, and anyone can read it. It's written for children. Child can read it, the parents can read it and work together. And the idea is that the parents and children work together on their feelings and their responses. And then maybe the teachers do it with their classmates and so on. And the more they do it with children, the more children will grow in confidence, trust their feelings, and they can just discard the idea of having a mental disorder.
I would love to connect with you, Richard, anytime. Now, like any one message you would like to leave for our listeners?
Yeah, there's 4 actually. Okay, so there's 4 things I'd like to share with all my listeners. The first one is your family of origin may not be your tribe. You might find that you don't fit in with your family, that you're maybe a nerd or a geek or a bookworm or a gamer, and your family are all extroverted, outgoing, social animals, and you're an introvert. Broken, and they're not special. You're not a perfect fit. They're a perfect fit for each other. You just don't fit into that mold of who they are. You're not broken. You're not some way disorder. You're perfectly okay for yourself. What happened is when you grow up and you move out into your own life, you'll meet other introverts and other nerds, and you'll find your tribe, and you'll be very happy with these people. So don't give up until the miracle happens. When you finally leave home and you go out and get a job and you get your own place, you'll find your tribe. Other introverts, other nerds, other geeks, other gamers, other bookworms. And when you meet them, they'll accept you exactly as you are. And your family of origin will always be there, and you may not ever meet them ever again. You may just phone them and call them, but you won't have to live with them because you'll be with your own people. That's number 1. Number 2 is if you live your life from today to say forward that you're not a victim. So whatever happens in your life, it's not about you. That's the big thing. Just say to yourself, it's not all about me. The way I describe it, if my wife was unhappy with our marriage and she wanted a divorce, she's not divorcing me because she doesn't like me. She wants to have her needs met, and I'm not meeting her needs. And so she wants to find someone to meet her needs. It's not about me. It's about her getting her needs met. If my boss fired me, if he employed me in the first place, so he's not firing me because he doesn't like me. He has a job that he wanted me to do and not able to do it, and he needs the job done. So he's going to get someone to replace me to do the job. But it's not about me. It's about him getting his needs met. So everything that happens, if someone abuses you, it's not about you. You weren't the victim. You weren't his intended target. When they woke up that morning, they didn't think, I'm going to get Richard Tierney. They were thinking, I'm going to act out with my behaviors. And the first person I see, I'm going to target. And it happened to be the first person they invaded their space was me. So I wasn't their victim. I just happened to be collateral damage. So that's the one thing. We're not victim. If you can embrace the idea of not being a victim, your life will change. The second one is to understand that you're never alone. There's always a higher power around you. When you come onto Sameness podcast or many other podcasts, or you go onto YouTube or Spotify, you listen to some speaker, or you listen to an audio tape or music or something. There's always something outside of yourself. If you need to talk to somebody, you can talk to a plant or talk to an animal. If you want to vent, take your dog for a walk, and you're walking along, say, give the dog all your stuff in your head, and once it's gone out of your head, you'll feel better for it, and the dog won't know any better. So you can talk to your dog all the time. The third one is to understand that there is a God. Someone has to create. Now, again, don't use the word God. I am. There is a God called I am, and he created everything. And whether you're a Hindu or Buddhist, doesn't matter. Just accept, you're even an atheist, except there is a God. He created everything. And if he can create everything in 7 days, he can do it my stuff in a minute, in a moment. That's really it.
That's an awakening one, Richard. And your message is clear. Like our emotions are not disorders, they're signals, and our wounds are not life sentences, they're invitations to heal. So, listeners, if you have been carrying a hole in your soul or watching a child struggle with theirs, know that there's always another path, one that begins returning to the truth of who we are. with listening and honoring. So, until next time, may you spark healing in yourself and in those you love.